right one day.
We'll get it here, folks.
Oh, look at that. That's
Right.
better.
Get his tripod working.
Live TV. Woo. Hey, welcome back to the foundation. You got the 2Ds.
Second session, August the 5th.
August the 5th. Man.
And instead of doing the harmonies of the gospel, we are doing our
Song series.
yes.
And David, what song are we doing? Well, we know what song we're doing because of the title.
Yeah.
But who are we talking about?
Well, here's the thing.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
There's two. There's not to be another way to bring out who it is in a different format.
Yeah.
But we decided to go one of the routes that he was famous for. He's famous for 2 or 3 things, but we decided to go with this one. And the song we're playing is "Take It Easy." Now, there's some words in this song that's really the context of who we're talking about. It ain't just taking it easy, it's the context.
Play the chorus too.
So there it is, folks. The guy's 7 women on his mind. Now, who in the Bible would have more than 7 women on his mind?
More than 7 women.
More than
Ooh.
7 women. You know how many women he had on his mind? He had 700 wives and 300 concubines.
Concubines or porcupines?
Well, I don't know if you could do the thing with a porcupine. So I think it's concubines.
Is it Abraham?
Oh, Abraham only had Sarah and a concubine. No, after Sarah died, he married later.
We are talking about Solomon.
Solomon. So we're going to hit up on Solomon. And of course, you know, he is ruled after David. David took him aside and told him, follow God, do whatever he says, you'll be blessed the rest of your life.
Good. Well, he was given a choice. Right?
If he wanted to be a ruler or not.
Well, yeah, but Solomon was given the choice of one thing that he could have. Right? He could have picked riches, fame, fortune.
Well,
but he chose.
But here's in 1 Kings chapter 3, we got Solomon's prayer.
What scripture? Or what verse?
6, starting with verse 6. It goes through verse 9. Then you've got God's answer.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. I'll read the prayer and you can read the answer.
Yep, verse 10.
Yep. It says, and Solomon said, you have shown your servant David, my father, great love kindness, because he walked before you in faithfulness and righteousness, and with uprightness of heart toward you, and you have kept for him this great loving kindness, in that you have given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is today. So now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king a place of David my father, and as for me, I am but a little boy in wisdom and experience, and do not know how to go out or come in. That is, how to conduct business as a king. But your servant is among your people whom you have chosen, a great people who are too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant an understanding mind and a hearing heart with which to judge your people, so that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge and rule this great people of yours? Amazing how he's able to acknowledge that.
I know it.
And now we have God's answer.
Well, what is his answer? Verse 10. Now it pleased the Lord that Solomon had requested this. So God said to him, because you have requested this and did not ask for long life, riches for yourself, or the death of your enemies, but you asked discernment for yourself, and understanding, and justice. I will therefore do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has never been any more or anyone like you before, and never will be again. In addition, I will give you what you did not ask for, both riches and honor, so that no man in any kingdom will be your equal during your entire life. And if you walk in my ways and keep my statutes and commands, just as your father David did, I will give you a long life. Then Solomon woke up and realized it had been a dream, and went to Jerusalem and stood before the Ark of the Lord's Covenant, or the Ark of the Covenant, and offered burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then he held a feast at his for all of his servants. So this guy is now wise, right? But not only did he get his wisdom, he got his riches and his fame.
Just asking for.
Just asking for wisdom.
Yeah, not
More or
self,
less.
not really selfish things.
No.
So they were added to him.
True.
And then we're continuing on into chapter 3. We see where he's putting his wisdom to practice. Keep reading.
Verse
16.
Yeah. Then two women who were prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. One woman said, "Please, my lord, this woman and I live in the same house, and I had a baby while she was in the house. On the third day after I gave birth, she also had a baby, and we were alone, and no one else was with us in the house. Just the two of us were there. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him, and she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your servant was asleep, and she said laid him under her breast, and she put her head, a dead son, in my arms. While I got up in the morning to nurse my son, I discovered that he was dead. In the morning, that morning, when I looked closely at him, I realized that he was not the son I gave birth to. Now, David, I have a question.
A mama knows her baby.
I have a funny question. How? I don't know if I should say this, but how could she tell?
A woman knows her baby. And you gotta remember, up here,
Oh,
it was already 3 days old
right.
from the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's gonna be signs of it being older than the other one. It's a biblical cord.
Yeah.
Where a baby has though, it has to I wouldn't say fall off, but it has to, it's like a scab, it has to heal itself. So all you gotta do is look at a biblical cord and see how this one is compared to one that was born 3 days later. So that's one way you can tell.
Yeah.
And by its features, could be by, but probably weren't by the same father. Of course, them being prostitutes, they probably didn't know who the father was.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. That's true.
You see what kind of business goes on in God's kingdom.
Yeah.
Even with David and Solomon there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, the other woman said, my son is the living one, and your son is the dead one. Of course, you would want the living one, right? The first woman said, no, your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one. So they argued before the king. You got anything to add?
Nope.
I thought you were about to say something. Then the king replied, this woman says, this is my son who is alive, and your son is dead. Now, this is a fascinating story too. It's kind of like, what would you do? But that woman says, no, the son is dead, and my son is alive. Your son is dead, my son is alive. The king continued, bring me a sword, so they brought the sword to the king, and Solomon said, cut the living baby in half and give one half to one and the other half to the other. Well, what was the reply? The woman whose son was alive spoke to the king because she felt great compassion for her son. My lord, give her the living baby. And she said, but please don't have him killed. But the other one said, now this is classic, he will not be mine or yours, cut him in two. So, kind of pretty cut and dry on who the mother is, right?
Well,
Yeah.
the wise man knows.
Yeah. Yeah. And the king responded, give the living baby to the first woman and do not kill him. She is his mother. All Israel heard about the judgment and the king had given, and they stood in awe for the king because they saw that God's wisdom was in him to carry out justice. And justice that day was served, I would say.
Yeah.
Judge Judy has nothing on him.
No real judge does. Which leads me to
He probably had Had his own TV show.
Well, this leads me into a mother's story here.
Mm.
Mother had 3 sons. She named them Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Oh wait, Dad, you didn't tell your joke.
What's the mother's name?
Oh no.
We're at it. We're right here at it.
This is it, okay.
This is where wisdom comes in.
Oh no. Say it again.
A mother had 3 sons.
Right.
She named them Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. What's the mother's name?
Wednesday. Right?
Well,
No. Saturday.
no.
Is it in the riddle?
Yeah. Her name's in the riddle.
Say it again.
A mother has 3 sons. She names them Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What's the mother's name?
Monday.
No, that was one of the sons.
You got me on that one. What was the answer?
The mother's name was what?
I don't know.
No, the last line. What's the mother's name? The mother's name was what?
Oh! Okay, that's a good one.
I wonder if Solomon could have figured that one out.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, where we go from here? Ooh. Hey, let's go to chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
And let's talk about Solomon's power, wealth, and wisdom.
Hmm.
We'll start at verse 20.
4:20.
Yeah,
All right, hold on.
there. We're going to talk about, see what's going on here. It says, the people of Judea and Israel were as numerous as the sand that is abundance by the sea. They were eating and drinking and rejoicing. Now Solomon reigned over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines and to the border of Egypt. They brought tribute and served Solomon all the days of his life. Solomon's food for the royal household for one day was 30 cores of finely milled flour, 60 cores of wheat flour. That must be a measurement.
Yeah.
What it says it. Yeah, a core was the same size as a homer. It had between 6 and 7 bushels. It was a normal load for a donkey. Okay, 10 fat cow or oxen, 20 pasture-fed oxen. I don't know what the difference is. I guess the 20 pasture-fed are not fat.
Yeah.
100 sheep, not counting fallow deer, gazelles, roebucks, and fattened out fowl. For he was ruling over everything west of the Euphrates, from Tishba to Gaza, over all the kings of west of the Euphrates, and he had peace on all sides around him. Judah and Israel lived in security, every man under his vine and fig tree, in peace and prosperity, from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, during the days of Solomon. Solomon also had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. These deputies provided food for King Solomon and for all the staff who came to King Solomon's table. Each in his month they nothing be lacking. They also brought the barley and the straw for the horses and swift steeds to the place where it was needed, each man according to his assignment. Now God gave Solomon exceptional wisdom and very good discernment and breadth of mind, like the sand of the seashore. Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the sorts of the east and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all other men, wiser than Ethan the Israelite, and Heman of Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol. His fame was renowned in all the surrounding nations. He also spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He spoke of trees, from the cedar which is in the Lebanon to the hyssop that grows on the wall. He spoke also of animals, of birds, of creeping things, and fish. And people came from all nations to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and from all the kings of the earth who had heard of his wisdom.
You know, isn't that interesting that he, you know, you think about the riches, you know, the people who were rich in the Bible. You got Abraham, he was rich. Job was certainly rich. And then you got Solomon. Who was the richest?
Well, I don't think you're going to find that out.
Do what?
So I don't think you're going to find that out.
Well, since Solomon made a deal with God, would that be the way to say it?
No, he just prayed for wisdom.
Pray for wisdom, yeah. And
Discerning
well,
and discerning
right,
good from evil.
right. And to go off on that, yeah, you're right. You would think that since God also provided his riches, but then again, God also provided Abraham's riches too. So probably since Solomon is known for his wisdom and riches, I would think that Solomon would be the richest man in the Bible, or at least the Old Testament. Richer than Donald Trump, perhaps. What you got there?
I'm trying to find the scripture on the 700 wives and 300 concubines. And so it's got to be. We're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 11.
I'll start.
While you're doing that,
What verses?
Looks like we're going to start with the first verse.
First verse. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah,
Or you want me to wait?
go ahead.
King Solomon loved many foreign women in addition to Pharaoh's daughter, Moabite, Ammonite, and Edomite, Sedum, and the Hittite woman from the nations that the Lord had told the Israelites about. do not intermarry with them, and they must not must not intermarry with you, because they will turn you away from me to other gods. Solomon was deeply attached to these women and loved them. He had 700 wives who were princesses and 300 concubines. And the Lord turned his heart. Let's see. And they turned his heart away from the Lord. There you go. When Solomon was old, his wives seduced him to follow other gods, just as it was predicted. He was not completely devoted to Yahweh, his God, as his father David had been. Solomon followed Ahasuereth, the goddess of the Cinnamons, and Milcom, the detestable idol of the Amorites. And Solomon did what was evil in the Lord's sight. And unlike his father David, he did not completely follow Yahweh. You see, it doesn't matter how godly your parents are, you could always turn out, well, both good and bad, because he was blessed beyond measure, but he made his mistakes, as such as David did too. You know, he had his mistakes. We covered that in a couple of weeks ago in our song series that we're doing, where he sinned with Bathsheba. That was a good one. You have to check that one out. That was what, a couple of weeks ago, David?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And at that time, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable idol of Moab, and for Malcolm, the detestable idol of the Amorites, on the hill across from Jerusalem. And he did the same for all his foreign wives who were burning incense and offering sacrifices to their gods. Now, David, you know what incense is, right?
Yeah, something smells good.
Yeah.
And you can have different flavor smells.
Right.
Potpourri.
But you know, there's those incense things that they're about this long, and you burn them.
Yeah.
Did you know that that's a satanic ritual?
Yeah, but you also get incense from things that don't burn.
Yeah, like the
Your air fresheners.
Yeah,
And your plug-ins.
Yeah,
That's an incense. It's
right.
It's the smell. But of course, back then they didn't have the electricity to do that with, so they just had to use smelly candles.
Right. And there's a point to all this, that Satan always perverts everything that God does, right?
Yeah.
What did God give us? The fruits, the vegetables, and seeds, right? And if we eat them, we can live long, healthier lives, but we don't do that anymore. We eat the Culver's hamburger,
Red meat.
French fries, and Diet Coke, right?
No, not Diet Coke. Regular Coke.
Regular Coke. There you go. Okay. You know, so You ever heard of the Limings?
What?
The Limings,
Limeys.
a tribe overseas.
No, I haven't heard them.
They
Professor?
oh no, that's you.
You
But
heard
they,
something?
huh?
I
Yeah.
heard something I hadn't heard of.
Yeah. So they overseas. This was years ago, but there was their ships. They got scurvy, right? It was common back in the 1800s.
That's because they wasn't getting no vitamin C.
Right, but some of the people started eating limes, and there was a herb or a vitamin in the limes that
Oh,
cured.
limes, the green,
Yeah.
the green lemon.
Right, that that cured their scurvy,
Yeah.
and they were called the limings. So if you got scurvy, or whatever that is, eat some limes, and that'll cure.
You usually you end up with sores and weakened bones. It could cause you to become bow-legged.
Yeah.
Because your legs bones aren't strong enough to
Right.
straighten you up.
Right. But we're doing the same things today, David. We're following over idols and different gods.
Yeah, but we're not up offering incense to them, though.
Well, yeah, that's true. But you spend. I know everybody spends most of their time on their cell phone, right? So
Yeah.
this, in a sense, is someone's idol, right? I'll never forget the day, not too long
Well,
ago.
they made it like a walking computer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, if they just left texting and phone calling on it, they wouldn't be on it.
Yeah, true,
Left-
true.
Left it like it was like a landline phone.
Yeah.
Like, ring it, you answer it.
Yep.
So maybe here you see somebody you don't want to talk to. And of course, that's when the voicemail and caller ID come along on a regular phone.
Yeah.
But you're still not playing with it.
Yeah, true.
And so you don't have to. Back in our days, you didn't. That's the communication you got.
Yeah.
Now you can't go anywhere without it because you don't. It's getting to where people are getting rid of their landlines.
Yeah.
And
What's a landline? I know what a
I
landline
think
is.
I
I know what a landline is.
think it might have been around about the time you was born, but they were starting. Yeah, they probably were. They may have started fading out.
They haven't.
Maybe 2010.
Yeah. So they're
Start fading out in 2010.
yep, they're slowly fading out.
Well, I got rid of mine.
You did?
Yeah. Can't pay for 2 sources of communication. I just pay for one.
There you go.
So
Yeah, I remember it was a big deal back when, and not too long ago. I mean, my first phone was a flip phone.
yeah,
You know.
but there was no apps for it.
What was an app? It didn't matter.
But-
But whenever the iPhone came out, well, it was iPhone 4. I remember finally getting one and thinking, well, this is crazy. I mean, which now, we're casting live TV on YouTube
Yeah.
on my phone, not a computer. And you remember those old dial-up, the computers they're about the
Yeah.
size of this table. You had to
AT&T.
sit there. Yeah.
But then they still went through your landline that way.
Right. Exactly.
It wasn't Wi-Fi.
And then you you do that and you forget about it, and it runs your bill up. You remember that?
Well, no. When I first started out, you had internet service through somebody else, but you still had to use AT&T's landline.
Yep.
AT&T hadn't got into the internet service yet.
Right.
But we're talking about idols and
Yeah.
gods, making gods out of things.
Yep.
I guess you could say back more in my younger days, it was your car. How can I make this thing more attractive, more alluring? How can I get the opposite sex to notice me?
Now look at it.
Yeah, they don't do like they did back. They're not souped up like they are. They're not as fast as they were back then. Yeah.
Have you seen those Teslas?
No, I've seen one, but I don't know how fast they go. But I mean,
Oh, I don't know. But talking about flashing. They're now.
well, see,
Now, if they were not electric, if they were gas, I'd love it. But
yeah.
they're
Well, I give you an example. Camaros, for you Chevrolet buffs, came out in I think last part of 67, 68. Well, I went to this party one time with a friend of mine, and this guy had a Camaro out there, and one battery wouldn't crank it. He had to have 2 batteries to crank that car. That's how tight that engine was.
Yeah. Ooh.
He could have probably used it in drag racing. So that's what we call muscle cars. There's no such thing as a muscle car anymore.
Yep. Hey, mine's a muscle car.
Takes muscle to get in it.
Yeah. You know, my car will go 0 to 60 eventually.
I say the thing back then, like I said, you try to do things to make your car different.
Yeah.
And one of the fads was air shocks. You would lift the rear end up higher than the front end. You put wider tires on the back than you had on the front. That was one of the things they did to their cars back then.
Yeah.
And back then, cassette 8 tracks were popular, so that went under your dash. You set stereo sound in it, and little things like that.
Yeah.
Well, we need to quit talking about our gods and start talking about Solomon's gods.
Okay. And we are in verse 9.
Yeah.
And the Lord was angry with Solomon, well, I guess so, because his heart was turned away from Yahweh. And the Lord, and the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, he commanded him about this, so that he would not follow other gods. But Solomon did not do what the Lord had commanded. You know, that's encouraging, David, that all these greats, right? David was a man after God's own heart, right? Solomon was one of the wisest and richest men in the Bible. But guess what? All these people mess up, and they mess up greatly. You know, God's telling them, don't do that. Don't do that, or you might not like the end result.
Well, we fix to find out what the end result's going to be.
Yep.
Read down to verse 13.
Yep. And he commanded about this, so that he would not follow other gods. But Solomon did not do what the Lord had commanded. Then the Lord said to Solomon, uh-oh, of course the Lord's going to say something about this. Since you have done this, and did not keep my covenant, and my statutes which I have commanded you, I will tear the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant. Ooh. However, I will not do it during your lifetime because of your father David. I will tear it down. I will tear it out of your son's hand. Yet I will tear the entire kingdom away from him, and I will give one tribe to your son because of my servant David, because of Jerusalem that I chose. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Okay.
so
Hmm.
here's well, you know, in the next verse, next section, he starts raising adversaries against Solomon. You know, but here, his son was the son's name was Rehoboam, and he became the king of Judea. The servant was probably Jeroboam, which started the northern tribes. And so here, here's the beginning of it, really the downfall of Israel, because eventually Assyria will conquer the northern and scatter them, and there's no more northern kingdom. So we know Solomon built a temple and had the Ark of the Covenant placed in it. He wouldn't let David do it because David had blood on his hands. So as far as we know, Solomon hadn't killed anybody. But
Give him time. Give him time.
We've read one story about David's his judgment. But what other story is most famous for that we learn about? There's another story about Solomon in here that's pretty well known among Christians besides his judgment with the two prostitutes. And that was the Queen of Sheba. So we're going to take a look at that. They've even made a movie about Solomon with Yul Brynner in the Queen of Sheba. He fell in love with her. And in that movie, she gets pregnant by him, but she goes back to her country to raise their child.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to be reading that here. But it starts in 1 Kings chapter 10. Now when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with riddles. Just like I gave you one. I got another one for you. So she came to Jerusalem with a very large caravan with camels carrying spices, a great quantity of gold, and precious stones.
Huh?
I said precious stories, it's stones. Precious stones.
You got your tongue tangled up and your words mixed.
When she came to Solomon, she spoke with him about everything that was on her mind to discover the extent of his wisdom. Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing hidden from the king which he did not explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon in the house which he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his servants, the attendance of his waiters in their attire, his cupbearers, his stairway by which he went up to the house or the temple of the Lord, she was breathless and awed by the wonder of it all. And she told the king The report which I heard in my own land about your words and wisdom is true, and did not believe the report until I came and saw it with my own eyes. Behold, the half of it was not told me. You exceed in wisdom and prosperity the report which I heard. How blessed are your men, how blessed are your servants who stand continually before you, hearing your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who delighted in you to set you on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. He made you king to execute justice and righteousness. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold and a very great quantity of spices and precious stones, diamonds, and rubies. Never again did such an abundance of spices came in to Israel as that which the queen of Sheba gave King Solomon. Also the ships of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought in Ophir a greatly quantity of almug wood, or sandalwood, and precious stones. From the sandalwood the king made pillars for the house of the Lord and for the king's palace, and also lyres and harps for the singers. Such sandalwood did not come to Israel again, nor has it been seen to this day. King Solomon, in turn, gave to the queen of Sheba everything that she wanted, whatever she asked, besides what he gave to her from his royal bounty. So she returned to her own country, she and her servants. So there's the story of Queen of Sheba. Like I said, it's not exaggerated as much as it is in the movies.
Oh yeah? Yeah.
It's kind of like The Chosen. It was for entertainment. Now we've gone through some of Solomon's stuff here.
Whatever. You have another riddle?
Well, that will be the last thing I tell you.
The last thing you tell me, okay.
Yeah. Because we're going to want you to go over to chapter 11, 1 Kings.
Okay.
And we're going to start with verse 41. Please read these last few verses.
Okay, shall I read?
You gotta go ahead.
The rest of the the rest of the events of Solomon's reign, along with the accomplishments in his wisdom, are written in the book of Solomon's events. The length of Solomon's reign in Jerusalem over all Israel totaled 40 years. And Solomon rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of his father David. His son Rehoboam became king in his place. Remember, Rehoboam, his reign was kind of a flop, right?
Well, yeah. Well, he started off. Well, of course, you read earlier about that he would, God would reserve Judea
Yes.
for Rehoboam. So Rehoboam's got to do something to split the kingdom.
Right.
And then, so when you start reading about Rehoboam and the foolish things he did to split the kingdom, and that's practically that's the end of the Israel Empire that went from the Euphrates River down to Gaza and Egypt.
Right.
That's a big chunk of land that don't get carved up.
Hmm.
So
That is Solomon's story in a nutshell. Solomon also wrote part of Psalms and, Song of Solomon. Remember, David, that.
So, I'm ready to give you another riddle to see how wise you are. Okay, here's how it starts. Forward, it is heavy. Backwards, it is not. What is it?
Okay, let's see. Forward, it is heavy.
Forward, it is heavy. Backwards, it is not.
A teeter-totter?
Nope.
No. Is it a car?
No.
No. Ooh. Is it a person, place, or thing?
It's a thing.
It's a thing. Is it water?
No.
Is that a good guess?
No.
No. Okay.
Come on, folks, help me out.
I give up what you got. What is it?
A ton.
A ton.
Ton. T-O-N, ton.
I don't get it.
Forward, it is heavy. Backwards, it is not.
I don't get it.
What is not spelled backwards?
Okay.
It's a ton going forward, and it's not going backwards.
There you go. Okay. It's kind of like David in Kansas. I don't know about Alabama, but in Kansas, cows don't give milk.
You gotta go get it.
There you go. Well, you've heard that one. Okay. Either you've heard that one or you're wise.
Well, I just know you gotta milk a cow to get it out of it. Cow just ain't gonna squirt in a bucket for you. You gotta yank on that thing.
Well, here we are on Monday night. David, are we going, you reckon you'll make an appearance Friday night?
Oh no, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Of course, the reason we didn't do it last Friday night, I was out buying a new car.
We did it. You were here Friday night, weren't you?
No,
No?
no,
Oh.
no.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep.
By the time we got through, well, it was an afternoon when we went, because I think Margaret had something to do that morning or something. She didn't get back till after lunch,
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
But it was
But
it was after 5, and we hadn't had nothing to eat, so we went out to eat.
we would have, we came close to you coming though, but you, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was
Oh no.
Anyway, yeah, you see, we normally do this on Tuesdays, and it's kind of, so today I've been telling myself it's Tuesday, so tomorrow night, don't be offended if I don't come to your house on time, because I might end up at Struts playing bingo.
That's Wednesday night, wasn't it?
I know, but today has been
Oh.
Tuesday all day for me.
But if you do that tomorrow, there will be no bingo.
And we will see you, worst case scenario, Monday or Tuesday.
Best case scenario is next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
What's worst case scenario?
A week from Friday.
There you go. All right, we'll see you then.